So it's finally official. Today, Eddie Hearn formally announced a deal with Dazn for exclusive broadcasting rights for all Matchroom UK boxing events. This ends a long-lasting exclusive deal that Matchroom have had with Sky Sports. I just wanted a few of your minutes to talk about it before I do. My name's Rahul J-Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're watching this, chances are you've seen some, if not all, of the interviews that Eddie Hearn and Joe Markowski have done with the major UK boxing YouTube channels throughout the course of the day. I've watched all of them, and I just wanted to share my initial thoughts about the things that they said and just a few opinions that I've gathered throughout the course of the day. The only place to really start is, why Dazn? Why did Eddie Hearn choose to go with Dazn? And look, Eddie Hearn basically said that he feels as though he felt a bit of pressure working with Sky Sports because he felt pressure to put on good events on a Saturday night fight night, and he didn't necessarily think the budget available to him from Sky for rights fees allowed him to do that. Secondly, he also felt a lot of pressure from Sky Sports to deliver pay-per-view events on a regular basis, and every time he put together a pay-per-view card, he felt the backlash from the fans because these events were on pay-per-view. Now he doesn't have that pressure because the budget's a lot bigger working with Dazn, and secondly, he doesn't have the pressure of having to put on these bumper pay-per-view events because they will be part of our Dazn subscription. I always say you have to take anything a promoter in boxing says with a pinch of salt. Look, I don't sit here and pretend to be a hardcore boxing fan. I'd consider myself quite a casual, but I do watch majority of boxing events that are broadcast on Sky Sports and BT Sport for that matter. And I have to say, man, personally, and this is obviously just my own personal experience, I can't remember feeling excited about a Matchroom event on Sky Sports in like the anticipation for the event as often recently as I did a few years back. Does that make sense? Now, I don't know whether that's just because I knew a lot less about the sport back then, so I was easier to sell to, or whether the quality of the shows over the last year or so just haven't been at a level that they once were. Now, obviously, the world hasn't been normal over the last year or so, and you know, a massive piece of the revenue has been removed from the equation because there's no live gate. But Eddie Hearn has come out and given us reason to believe or reason to expect good quality shows on Dazn in terms of matchups and just intrigue around fights. And now he basically has to deliver that, and I'm going to wait a few months to see what kind of fights are put together for Fight Camp, and just moving forward when the world starts becoming more normal, the quality of fights that we see on Dazn, before I can sit here and say fair play Eddie Hearn, or that was just more promoter talk. Do you know what I mean? So that will be interesting to see how that element develops, the quality of the matchups, the quality of fights that we're going to see on Matchroom UK shows on Dazn moving forward. Now, Eddie Hearn didn't commit to saying that pay-per-view is totally off the table. And you have to remember, when Dazn started in America, that was one of the main things. Our pay-per-view's dead. Now that Dazn's here, pay-per-view's dead. There's no need to pay for pay-per-view, just get Dazn. And Eddie Hearn wasn't that aggressive with that message today. And the reason why I believe he's not that aggressive is Anthony Joshua, because obviously AJ sits outside of this deal that Matchroom now have with Dazn. He still has one fight left with Sky Sports. And let's face it, the relationship that AJ has had with Sky Sports has been very fruitful financially and very successful. Frank Warren has been very vocal about AJ and the fact that there's only one fight left on this deal with Matchroom and Sky Sports, and he's even said that, once he has this last fight in Sky Sports, he's going to become a free agent, and it might even be easier to negotiate directly with AJ, and it might be easier to make a fight between AJ and Tyson Fury. Now, I don't think that AJ is going to leave Matchroom at all. I feel like there's a good bond, a good understanding between the two of them, and I don't see AJ necessarily going it alone. Eddie Hearn, in fact, in one of the interviews, and I can't remember who it was with, he did say that there's going to be an announcement with AJ and 258 management with regards to his plans moving forward. I don't know if I've made that up, but I'm 99% certain that he did say that today. Now, after watching Eddie Hearn and how he's been moving around Canelo over the last few months, and how giddy he gets in the presence of Canelo, I think AJ is just going to take a page out of Canelo's book, and I feel like it would make sense for AJ to just literally be a broadcast free agent and a promotional free agent. I don't know if that's the right terminology. The same way Canelo is. Now, obviously, Canelo is free to leave Eddie Hearn after this next fight, or I'm not sure what the deal is that they have. I can't see AJ leaving Matchroom, and I feel like it's going to go from a Matchroom is AJ's promoter to a partnership. 258 Promotions and Matchroom Promotions in partnership bring you this event. And I feel like the freedom in the UK market for AJ will allow him to negotiate with all of the major players, Sky Sports, BT Sports and Dazn, on a fight-by-fight basis. And that might just be the most the most financially attractive method for AJ moving forward. However, he might just want to stay with Sky Sports. Like I said, it's been very, very successful, and he's made a lot of money fighting on Sky Sports box office. So I don't know whether a lot changes with AJ with regards to Matchroom, or where his fights will be shown after this last fight with Sky Sports. But I don't think there'll be a massive shock or a surprise with this announcement in the next couple of weeks. One of the things that Eddie Hearn did talk about quite a bit. Sorry, I got really itchy nose. I think I might be getting hay fever. I'm nearly 35 and never had hay fever before, but I've been sneezing a lot today and my nose feels itchy. So anyway, one of the things that Eddie Hearn spoke about a lot today is what attracted him to this deal with Dazn is the ability for Matchroom to create or I don't know what the produce all of their own content that's going to be broadcast on Dazn, right? So they're going to produce all of the events for us to watch via the Dazn app. Now, prior to this, obviously Sky Sports produced all of the events, which means they picked all of the analysts, the commentators, presenters, etc. They probably had the major influence on the look and feel of the event, what the set looks like where the analysts sit, what the stage looks like, where the ring entrance is and things of that nature, music that's used, blah blah blah. You get the picture, right? And Eddie Hearn seems really excited about being able to kind of control all of that himself. And first and foremost, I'm glad that it's not Dazn in charge of all of this in the UK, because I honestly feel like they've done such a bad job of it in the States in terms of the team that they put together for their events and just how those events are produced. And when I watch those events, I always sit there and think to myself, why would you plow millions of dollars for the rights to boxing events and then not bother to actually package these things to make it look nice? Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of glad that Eddie Hearn has maintained control of all of that, or managed to get control of all of that, because he didn't have it before. And I'm interested to see who he picks in terms of his teams. And look, Eddie Hearn has formed bonds and relationships with fighters that used to fight with Matchroom, the Carl Frochers of this world, Tony Bellews of this world, etc., etc. So I just hope it's not a case of jobs for the boys and just a load of guys that used to fight on Matchroom shows when Eddie Hearn kind of, initially turned promoter, and just guys that are his mates almost, because he did say there will be a mixture of legends and new faces and blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. So again, that's another thing I'm going to reserve reserve the judgment on, reserve the right to make a judgment for a few months. I want to see what these events look and feel like. I want to see how crisp the production is and all of that. I'm sat here talking like I'm a fucking expert, but I'm not. But I just know when something doesn't look good, or like going from one shot to another, and the cameraman's got the bloody camera on the floor. That often happens on Dazn, and then he's a second late, and then he puts his head up. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. It really annoys me. It really grinds my gears. So I'm interested to see what happens on that front. Eddie Hearn did also talk about a partnership that will help. So I don't know how to word this, because Kugan Cassius was basically saying, look man, Sky Sports is a massive platform, and you guys had the help of Sky Sports News and blah 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 to help promote and advertise events and blah, etc etc. And Eddie Hearn said there's going to be an announcement in the next couple of weeks with regards to a new partner that they've got to kind of, I don't know whether it's shoulder programming or additional content for fights, etc. But there's going to be an announcement. And I personally, look, man, I go to a lot of boxing events in, you know, the O2 and things of that nature. And going off of the type of crowd that you see at those events, there's kind of two types of people that you see on those events, and you can kind of tell just by looking at them. You got the hardcore kind of boxing fans that come in all ages, that don't really get up off this seat between fights and between rounds to go and get another drink and whatnot. Very rarely move, and they just sit there quietly and watch the event, and they might shout the odd thing here and there. And then you got just casuals like myself who like to get up and go and get a drink, and not necessarily paying 100% attention on every minute of every round of every fight. And in terms of promoting events, I'm not just talking about live gates and stuff. I'm talking about watching events. It's very easy to grab the attention of these people, myself included, via digital content. Like, I feel like the power of Sky Sports and the advertising via Sky Sports and Sky Sports News, etc., is a little bit overstated in this day and age, man. I feel like social media, YouTube, are strong and viable options to promote events if used correctly, basically. Again, I'm interested to see who this partner is and what the deal is and things of that nature. But I don't know how important it is to have Sky Sports' marketing machine behind your events, unless obviously it's a pay-per-view event. Do you know what I mean? And according to Eddie Hearn at the moment with Dazn, there's no need for pay-per-view. So yeah, interesting times in UK boxing. This is effectively it now. Oh, actually, sorry, I forgot to mention about this broadcasting team. I started talking about other stuff, probably my itchy nose and the fact that I think I might have hay fever. Eddie Hearn, and I say this in nearly every video I make about UK boxing or Eddie Hearn, he's very vocal about the fact that he's seen what Dana White and the UFC have done, and he wants to copy it, and he wants to be the UFC of boxing. He said it again today. That's what the UFC do. They produce all of their own content. They produce all of the broadcasts that we see are produced by the UFC. All of the teams used in front of the camera, analysts, pundits, presenters, commentators, etc., are all employed directly with the UFC, and those are the same team that fly around the world. So before the times of pandemic, and actually even during the times of pandemic with the UFC, because they was going over to Fight Island and then back to America. But before all of this stuff, they were flying around the world, like, you know, 5-6 shows in Europe a year, several shows in Asia, whether it's South Korea or Japan, a load of shows in South America, and obviously a load of shows in North America. So that's obviously the States and Canada. And it was the same guys you'd see. Obviously, there's a load of guys, because it wasn't the same 3 or 4 people every week. But it was, you know, these were familiar faces, right? So I can understand why that's the route that Eddie Hearn wants to go down. He's mentioned in these interviews that you'll see UK fighters fighting across the world. It won't just be, you know, a few years ago, you'd literally have. If you know, this fighter's from Manchester, he'll just fight in Manchester or up north somewhere. If this guy's from London, he'll just fight in London. Do you know what I mean? but he's trying to make it a more global experience in terms of what it looks like. So you're assuming that the events will all look the same, whether it's in America or over here in the UK, and the teams involved in terms of the broadcast team. And the fighters will, you know, that they'll be fighting in different countries and stuff. And I feel like that will be quite interesting to see the dynamics of that. But yeah, there's a lot that I've just spoken about there. So feel free to comment on any of the stuff that I've said. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will catch you guys next time.